Okay, what's up, y'all? Time for another motorcycle movie review. Today we're going to talk about a little sci-fi flick called Captive State. It is, I don't know, your customary alien takeover, terraforming, kind of strip mining type movie. So before we get into the full review, I'm just going to say solidly I'll give it a, that's pretty, 2.5, 3 stars out of 5. Not the best, not the worst. Didn't overly do the CG. The story was, I don't know, I don't want to say it was good, but it wasn't overly great, you know. It's just a okay, probably one-time watch movie and you're good to go. So where do we start? So the movie starts unassumingly enough. You don't really know if it's going to be an all knockdown, fight, drag out type movie, if it's just going to be like some alien annihilation type stuff. You just kind of really don't know what's going on. So you get the intro scene, which is still dark. You get the various movie titles coming across, all the supporting companies and stuff like that, but you get the audio of various news and media outlets describing how people just stay on their side of the line, describing there's basically an alien invasion going on. Aliens have made contact and sections of the planet are being quarantined and zoned off and all this other kind of stuff's happening, and then it fades to daylight where there is a family, well, not family, a guy and his wife, you assume, just trying to get out of the city of Chicago. So they're going left and right, up and down. They keep running into all these barricades. Of course, they're trying to get around them, because why not? Should have took that. No, he's making it right. So they're trying to get around the barricades. They run into some cops. They back off, go another route, and then they run into another set of cops. And then, of course, you find out that the guy who's running with his wife is a cop. He shows his badge to another officer, and he's like, yo, I need to get north. I need to get out of here right now. And he was like, oh, well, officer, blah, blah, blah. We just need you to back up some. So he's not trying to hear what they have to say. He backs up, takes another route, shoots down some road, busts through a barricade, and then ends up under an overpass of some sort. And then here come our aliens. You don't really see them. You hear them kind of making noise. The wife starts to flip out, and she's like, back up now, get out of here. He kind of froze. Of course, she slaps him upside the head once or twice and was like, back up now, let's get out of here. So, man, there's all kind of cool stuff out today. So he goes to throw the car in reverse, then all of a sudden you see a little dart, tiny little dart, right through the window. Okay, what is this? The front seat is completely decimated. They get turned to powder, period. Done. Like, this is the technology these aliens have. And then all of a sudden you see this giant creature show up. It's hard to describe them. Well, it's not hard to describe them, it's hard to picture them. If you ever seen one of those magnetic toys, I got one at home. I'll throw an example up in the video. They look just like magnetic shards, and then when they get pissed off, they spike out. They look like giant porcupines. So this thing jumps on the hood of the car, looks in the car, freaks out, gets all spiky, and then calms down, and then it fades to the back seat of the car where you see 2 young boys. So they just watched their mother and father just get turned into freaking blood powder, and you see a picture of a beach and a lake, and then it fades to black again, and it shows how the military has stood down. Basically, martial law has been taken into effect. They've taken over. They are mining the resources. People are getting deported, but when they get deported off planet. It's just all the kind of stuff that's going on, but they're also spouting peace and unity and showing various scenes of people just getting along around the planet. Basically, they implemented world peace. That's the gist of it. Then you see that they also cut out all digital communications. But you see all of this stuff going across the computer screen because somebody's typing it. And as they fade into the future, you can see one of the messages: as we planned this attack, we failed. Everybody else, you know, you need to light a match that starts a war, or something real philosophical like that. I'm paraphrasing. And then you see what you assume to be the older brother's face of the 2 brothers. There was a younger and an older, and some type of memorial. So the typing was him saying the plan failed, they got us type deal, and basically he got dead. fade to the younger brother, who is having grown-ups with his girlfriend in his apartment under surveillance, which is freaking crazy. So basically, the world they live in, they're under constant surveillance. And then enter, I'm sorry, the younger brother as an adult is played by Ashton Sanders. I'm not gonna hate on his acting skills. He's an okay actor. He was in Moonlight, which was like a critically acclaimed movie. He was also in The Second Equalizer with Denzel Washington. I know I don't want to say he's typecast, but he seems to play the same character a lot. Like his movements, actions, the way he speaks doesn't really change. He doesn't show a lot of range. But it's played by Ashton Sanders. He plays Gabriel Drummond, the younger brother to Raphael Drummond, who got dead. And he's under surveillance by John Goodman, which is freaking crazy. John Goodman's been in like the last couple movies I've watched that I've really liked. John Goodman is a police officer or some special unit officer that actually works for the aliens, which are called the legislators. Real fancy name for some aliens. And he suspects that the younger brother is a part of the same, they call them insurgents, just like terrorist group that his older brother was a part of. So he's under constant surveillance, and you know, him and his girlfriend are being watched, and you know, he goes off to do his daily deeds and go to work and such. He leaves his apartment, then appears Machine Gun Kelly, who is his partner in crime. He's a very small role in this movie. He's only in it for a little while, and he's kind of an asshole. So appear Machine Gun Kelly, they talk about what they need to do for the day, and they basically say, hey, I need to handle some business. They go off together and look at one of the alien colonies in a closed off zone. Basically say, can't wait to take these dudes down or escape or whatever. So they go to their little hideout, and they got a speedboat. Basically their main goal is to get on the speedboat and to go across the lake from Chicago. It's like, these are interstellar beings. They've taken over the planet. They destroyed the military, got them to stand down. How are you going to get away from them on a speedboat? I don't know, but they don't really explain that much in the movie. So they get into a little bit of a tiff after the younger brother goes to work. So he works at a company that is tasked with destroying all remnants of digital media. He's basically remnant security. He's destroying hard drives, memory cards, cell phones. He watches the videos, deletes the footage, destroys the material that they were saved on. So apparently there's another person in their insurgent group that's in this factory that slides him some information during lunch. He wraps that information up, or she wraps it up into a form of a loose cigarette, and then he slides it behind his ear. Meanwhile, there's another factory worker that was caught stealing or trying to smuggle information out of the company, and her throat or clavicle area starts to kind of pulsate, and you find out that everyone is bugged, like quite literally. So the aliens are called roaches by the local people, and there's a bug inside of every person, a tracking device that is biological in nature, so they call it a bug. All of a sudden these drones start flying out of the air. They pick her out of the crowd, and then some clandestine group shows up, snatches her out, and done. She's done. Like, I don't know if they killed her, if she got deported off planet, whatever happened to her, she's done. So Machine Gun Kelly and Gabriel Drummond, I don't know, Machine Gun, this is Jurgis, is his name in the movie. They get into an argument about who's doing more work for the cause and all this other stuff, and basically they fight each other for a little bit. Then Machine Gun Kelly presents a gun that he was going to use to fight the roaches. The younger Drummond hides the gun because he's like, we can get a lot of trouble for this. They're of course making a lot of noise. The cops show up, and it happens to be John Goodman. John Goodman kind of, you know, flags him down. He doesn't even run from him. He just gets in the car. He said, what you doing here, Gabe? And basically gives him the father-son speech like he's looking out for him, and I got you this job type deal. And it's like, holy crap, they know each other. So how is he surveilling this kid? Maybe they got some history. Turns out Raphael Drummond's dad was a cop. John Goodman was his partner, which is freaking crazy. So he's basically looking out for this kid in some twisted kind of way, trying to keep him out of this terrorist group. Okay, cool. He's like, hey, I need you to do some stuff for me. He's like, I'm not one of your informants. You're not going to get me to do anything. I'm out. Basically, they part ways. Kid goes about his way, takes the material that he's got in his ear, which luckily he didn't get taken from him by John Goodman, and ends up in some plant type area. I don't know if it's a car plant or what, with another guy. So random character shows up. There are a lot of random characters in this movie. They don't give you enough time to actually learn the characters and get to know them or feel any kind of connection with them, but it's broken up that way on purpose because they are insurgents. They don't want to be found, which makes more sense at the end of the movie. So ends up at this plant, and then all of a sudden is thrown into the back of a van and snapped a collar snapped on his neck, which basically blocks the signal of the bugs that they have in their necks or clavicle area, which is kind of cool. So he jeez, swear to God, if you try to get over it. So he's in his van, gets dropped off, and basically he gets dropped off in an abandoned area of the city, the same area of the city that the first insurgent troop tried to attack and failed, and the aliens just blew it up. So he gets dropped off in these ruins, and is told to walk into the area, and walks into some house. For whatever reason, he takes the collar off, which is super dumb, but only after he's standing in a mirror looking around, and then all of a sudden he hears a voice, "Hey, that shirt's still too big for you." It's the older brother. Older brother's alive, which is freaking crazy. Ugh. So they have an emotional reunion, which is, I don't know, extremely overacted. Like it did not flow well at all. It was just too much. So they have their meeting. The brother goes off into his thing, and basically says, "Hey, the same things. Light a match, start a war, something." You'll see it if you watch the movie. If not, then just assume I know what I'm talking about. So they're of course making more noise again, and then the drones appear for whatever reason, because they just don't like anything over 2 decibels, and they split ways. The boy places the collar back on his neck, and then ends up missed my turn because I'm yapping. Ends up just being dropped off, or just they don't even show how he got back to his freaking hotel or apartment, wherever he lived with his girlfriend. So he get back to the apartment, meets up with his girlfriend. She's basically asking him what's wrong, and he says, "Hey, my brother's alive," which is super dumb when you know you're under surveillance almost 24 hours a day. So he knows he's under surveillance, says the brother's alive, and then basically she's like, "You can't go join the cause, you need to stay here. If you want to help me, you need to stay with me." So he's pretty much bust a fat Yui. He's pretty much like, "Nah, I'm just gonna go join my brother, and then what I'm gonna do is save the world." So that didn't happen. Ended up running out of the apartment, and I do not like that corner because there's gravel there. You can't see it, but I can. So he runs out of the apartment. John Goodman has now picked him back up because he took the collar off again. Like, if you got a thing that keeps you from getting tracked, leave that crap on, dude. So he took the collar off again, pops up on John Goodman's radar, and he's now chasing him through the city or whatever. And meanwhile, John Goodman's got this crazy theory that the insurgents are working with each other through the classifieds. He tells his partner, his current partner, which happens to be Kevin O'Connor, who you might remember him from the Mummy movies. He was the real Weasley guy that was always trying to talk to Imhotep. You'll remember him when I post a picture of him. So he talks to him and he's like, "Yo, you need to keep this to yourself. People are going to think you're crazy." So John Goodman's doing all that stuff. So he's just adding more fuel to the fire. The younger Drummond brother is, by doing all this crazy stuff. And John Goodman's going around the city taking pictures of all these landmarks and graffiti that looks like the symbol of a phoenix, meaning the movement will be reborn, type deal. So he's chasing the kid. Kid he ends up in some type of warehouse, and the drones find him. So the drones have now found him, and they're trapping him in this, I don't know, booth. He throws the collar back on. Like, this movie is so disjointed. He throws the collar back on, and then he basically disappears to the drones. They surround the booth. They freaking cover it completely so there's no light. John Goodman loses the signal. Dust in my visor. And then he goes away. Like, he just leaves. And he goes to a whorehouse. And I'm like, all right, I mean, okay, well, you lose one, you gotta win one. So he goes to a whorehouse, and then Vera Farmiga shows up. She's like the main mistress of this house, I guess. And they have some type of relationship. Maybe he's just a repeat customer of the month. Who knows? She reaches up into a cabinet and gets some box for him. And then they're about to handle their business. He feels bad. He's like, I don't want to do this. And then he goes to leave. And then she says, don't forget what you came here for, gives him the box. No idea what's in the box. They don't indicate what their relationship actually is. And she says, beware Trojans bearing gifts. And then looks at a painting on the wall. Okay, whatever. Goes to the next scene. The freaking there's a guy who's in place at the news station that is placing the articles for them to communicate with into the classifieds, and he's having a meeting with another dude. Just pops up, no idea who this guy is, and he's like, basically like, yeah, we strike tonight because the information has come. Now, once the older brother and the younger brother were separated, the older brother sent the information from the cigarette that the younger brother gave him by carrier pigeon. He wrapped the note up, stuck it in the carrier pigeon, sent the carrier pigeon off. Carrier pigeon landed to whatever their base of operations is. Information has now changed hands. The group now knows that their plan is to attack tonight in the closed zone. Now we're back to where the guy in the newspaper is that was passing the notes. So he meets another dude in person, and they say we're going to attack tonight. The next scene is like 4 or 5 more insurgent people just showing up. Like, they just show up. No description, no nothing, which is really confusing, but it also makes sense when you don't want anybody to know who you are. Thank you for looking left, dude. So they show up, and then a doctor appears. They're in some kind of warehouse once again, where they're, God, gravel. Where they're getting their bugs removed. This doctor has a way to take the bugs off, but one failed, so one insurgent just, boop, dead, right off the bat. So they go get another female insurgent, pull her in, it's like, a distress signal's been sent, we gotta get your bug out right now. So they successfully perform the surgeries, get the other 3 or 4 bugs out. In the meanwhile, one of the main, God, there's no real character names, they have them, but I don't know them. The main male insurgent that met the gentleman at the news station, has another contact who is a doctor who has removed good upstanding citizen bugs from deceased people. And he's like, you got till 7 a.m. before I have to report these people dead. Then their bugs will be flagged as bad, they'll go offline or whatever. So he's taking those bugs to the doctor, and they're implanting them into the new into the other insurgents to replace their other bugs at a later date. They're not doing it straight. They're just for now they're all bugless. So they have all had their bugs removed. They meet at another location. It looks like maybe not a brothel, not another brothel, but maybe a burlesque type show. After they met a young lady in her house. She's got an not invisible, it's clear piece of goo, like glob, alien technology. And they basically said, how did you get this? And she's, gravel. What is... And she's like, hey, their ship's crashed too. So apparently some other group raided their ship, or a crash ship, got an alien explosive, and she, of course, procured it. She's part of the insurgency group. She's giving it to them to perform some type of attack. Now, you still don't know what the attack is. You do find out that there is a celebration for the aliens, because this is like their anniversary of taking over at some type of sports field, and they're pretty much going to knock that out. So they go through all this rigmarole. She's like, this is what you do to arm it. This is what you do here. I'm like, how do you know how to arm the alien bomb? Don't explain that either. Okay, whatever, just go with it. So she says you double tap it, and that's to activate it. Basically, it becomes invisible. It sticks to fabric. It's better on natural materials. And she gives them the whole spiel. And I was like, okay, cool. That makes sense. So they have now taken the bomb to the burlesque place, where another guy walks in. No idea who he is. He's part of the group. They're all sitting there arming the weapons. They have a meeting around the table. They basically all grab what I assume to be cyanide pills. He's like, no prisoners. So nobody gets caught. You get caught, pop a pill, you dead. And I'm like, okay, they're really committed to the cause. And they all swallow the new bugs from the upstanding citizens that the doctor had retrieved. I guess a couple hours before, however long before this happened. That's polite. Yeah, you go ahead, douche. We're all standing in line just because, right? Ugh. So they've swallowed the bugs. Now they have now replace their bugs with the upstanding citizens' bugs, and they're allowed to go to any event wherever upstanding citizens can go. So they're heading to the sports arena to basically attach the bomb to an unwitting bystander who is a senator. He is allowed to meet the aliens, so basically they're going to attach the bomb to him, let him meet the aliens, blow the aliens up. Well, the celebrations begin. The singer is singing battle hymn, glory, glory, hallelujah, and the celebrations end, and the guy who was supposed to walk towards them after they've all got their various costumes, one is a busboy, one is like a business guy, and one is like a chauffeur. They're all dressed up as different people. They're supposed to walk towards them, and they're supposed to do the old walk by, touch him, plant the bomb, and nope, he goes a completely different direction. So they all turn around, try to head him off. The older Drummond brother is now running down the corridor, and they meet up. They bump into each other. Oh, sorry, my bad. Oh, I thought you was somebody else. And he double taps the guy on the back. Now this thing goes completely invisible, and it starts to cover the guy's back. And he's walking towards the aliens under another corridor. And another young lady is talking to him. One of his staff is basically like, look, you let them talk first. I'll translate because she speaks magnetic alien. And we're just going to let this flow out. So they get close. And then that thing explodes, and it is freaking massive. It is a huge explosion. Don't you go. It's my turn. It is a huge explosion. So all of those aliens are taken out, which you're like, okay, so they took out the 3 or 4 that came down. Not really sure what you guys were doing here. This was a dumb plan. So they run off. Everybody scatters. The stadium scatters. One of the aliens, I guess, escaped and finds the older Drummond brother in a parking garage. Not sure how he knew he was a suspect. Everybody's running. They got good bugs. So I don't understand this part, but whatever. They get in a fight. Main male insurgent shows up and basically hits this dude upside the head with a freaking fire extinguisher, sprays him, hits him, stabs him with something, and pops his face off, which I guess their bodies also contain a freaking spacesuit that allows them to breathe on Earth or whatever. And the alien sits there and dies. But like I said, when these things are pissed off, they're spiky. So he basically jumped on a porcupine. He got stabbed up. They get away, of course, and then he's trying to nurse to his wounds. And that's pretty much it. They're all trying to find various ways to escape the city. Female insurgent survived. The guy who was dressed up like a chauffeur took off and went to a train station. He left one of the dudes, and the cops shot him. It's like they don't show you how they determined these were the bad guys. Nobody knows them. It's the whole point. But I guess for purposes of the movie, some of them gotta die. So they do all of this stuff. Older brother, main male insurgent, female are all at the bus station. Female picks up some dude's random kid and goes through a freaking the spinny door. Geez, I can't think of them right now. Turnstile door. Good lord, it's gonna piss me off. I know the name of this door. So anyway, she picks up the kid, goes to the door. I thought she was using the kid as a cover, but she actually was. But basically, she was under the guise of, I'm gonna help this guy out and pick up his kid for him. So she gets on the bus. Main male insurgent is on a separate bus, and in the meantime, these hunters have been dispatched. Now, John Goodman character shows back up after this, and he's speaking with the commissioner, which is a human representative on Earth. Basically, he's the second in command next to the legislators. Commissioner is played by Kevin Dunn, the dad in the Transformers movies, Witwicky. He's been in a bunch of other stuff, but I think everybody loves him for those. So he's the commissioner. He's basically like, yo, they're going to do the same thing that they did to Wicker Park, to Pilsen. They're going to level it. You need to get out of here. I got to go downstairs to meet the bosses. Sorry, you can't come. It looks cool down here. And John Goodman's like, you don't need to do that. I can fix this. Basically, the commissioner's not listening to him. And he's saying, hell, yo, this is about to happen, and you just got to deal with it, bruh. So John Goodman is obviously jealous of his position of power, and you assume that he wants to take it. So what happens is the hunters are released. John Goodman goes on chase. He ends up at the bus station. The hunters have already made it to the bus station. Now, this is after John Goodman stopped at the brothel to meet with Vera Farmiga one more time. And it's basically like, sorry, I can't protect you. I guess he was saying they're going to level the neighborhood, and I can't basically be seen with brothel lady. You still don't know what their relationship is. And then she's like, well, you got a job to do, so I guess you better go. I'm like, damn, all right. So he runs off. Now he's in chase. He's going to the bus station, and while this is happening, the younger brother, Gabe, who was trapped in the booth. The drones took off because now there's been an explosion. The aliens have called them back. They take off, and he runs off. He goes back to the location of their secret hideout to go escape, I guess, find the boat. He gets there, and the boat is freaking burnt. John Goodman made a pit stop, burned the boat, and then you never find out what happened to Machine Gun Kelly. At least I didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention or something. So the boat's burned. Your escape means is done, son. You're trapped there. So he finds the gun that he threw earlier away from Machine Gun Kelly when they were trying to escape, and he heads back to the city. Now John Goodman is now at the bus station with the hunters who are on the bus now. One on each bus. One of the hunters is looking around trying to figure out who could be the suspect, and he sniffs, or appears to be sniffing, and he can see the one guy still bleeding. So they grab him up by the scruff of the neck, throw him off the bus. He's like, all right, I'm out. Bites the pill. He's done. He got dead. So the girl and the older brother are on the same bus. They're sitting in two different seats. She goes to run off the bus. Older brother grabs her, sits her down next to him. The hunter boards the bus. He's looking around, scanning people. She starts to freak out. Older brother's trying to chill. She goes to rush the hunter. She's all of, I don't know, 110 pounds. She goes to rush a hunter alien. And he just, boop, he pops her head like a dandelion. She didn't even get 3 feet. She got up to run, and then boop, dust. So while this is happening, the older brother rushes the alien, is able to push him into the front of the bus. The alien just grabs him and tosses him off the bus, and he lands on the ground and is, of course, apprehended by John Goodman. After he tries to run away, he gets shot. But he's still alive. So he apprehends him. He's got him chained up in their, I don't know, police station or whatever. And then, of course, he goes to the other guy. The cops take him to the police station. John Goodman goes to another subdivision in the city to where the family of the chauffeur driver is living. So he finds the family and basically, I don't know, kidnaps them or threatens to use them against him. And the guy doesn't say anything. I think he took his pill. And you don't see anything of him for the rest of the movie. So I was kind of like, what's going on with this dude? What is going on with this dude? Are you getting slower just to piss me off? I don't know what's happening. So the guy shows up, the younger brother shows up at the same apartment complex, and he pulls a gun on the masked individuals in the apartment complex. John Goodman turns around, he's masked as well, and starts talking to the kid. The kid recognizes his voice, and he's like, what is going on here? How are you a part of this? And John Goodman basically walks up to him in a threatening manner, slaps the gun out of his hand, throws him up against the wall, and was like, take him too. So now the kid is on John Goodman's bad side, and he gets taken to the police station into interrogation room or whatever, and he's still being defiant. I'm not going to be one of your cronies. I'm not going to be your goon. I'm not going to be no narc. He's like, oh, okay. When's the last time you saw your brother? The kid doesn't want to admit that his brother's alive, but he also doesn't know that John Goodman knows his brother's alive. Takes him to the brother, who's beat to shit in this cell, and he's like, no. Super dramatic. Bad acting. It was like, ugh, dude, just let this scene be over with. So he takes him to the brother in the cell, and of course he's like, why are you here? You should have ran away. Convinces the younger brother to, of course, become one of his informants / narcs, and he's trying to get to number one, the main person in charge of this terrorist group. So the brother, of course, agrees. John Goodman gives him a sliver of paper. He is set to go to the same meeting place where he normally does to drop off his contact information. Whatever he has to do, and he runs for the group, drops it off. It's the guy at the Post, the newspaper guy who was responsible for sliding the stuff in the articles. He passes the information. This kid wants to be taken to number one. He's legit. He's the brother of the main guy, the original freaking number one, Drummond. So basically, that's his free pass to get in because he's related to the guy who everybody thought was dead, who they knew was still alive because he was still part of the group. So he gets in, and they take him to the brothel, which is crazy. John Goodman's watching all of this on surveillance, by the way. They take him to the brothel, and then the cops burst in after John Goodman gives them the go, and freaking Gabe Drummond is talking to Vera Farmiga, and she just looks up at him. The cops burst in, and they shoot her in the head. Done. There was a gun right next to her. She didn't even touch it. And you have no idea what's going on now. So she was a scapegoat or something, or she knew she was going to die. You're like, what is happening? I don't get it. This is stupid. And then they just take the younger brother. He's gone now. Like, he disappeared. You don't see him for the rest of the movie. And you're like, I don't get it. So a message goes out. A young lady was found or is shot as part of this, blah, 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 blah. All of their various insurgents have now heard this message. And they're fleeing the area. So that's the same thing John Goodman said. He said, if you bomb this area, the insurgents are going to go to ground. We need to take out number one, and then we can destroy the whole cell and prove that this thing's international. So John Goodman told this to the commissioner before he went down into the space ship station area, whatever. So he told the commissioner this crap. The commissioner was kind of not wanting to hear it. So John Goodman has now revitalized his point that you take out number one. So while they're doing this, they took her out. Him and his partner show up at the Vera Farmiga's apartment, and his partner notices, hey, there's only one painting on the wall. It's the Trojan horse painting that she referred to earlier. So John Goodman allows his partner to grab the painting. Pulls the painting down. There's surveillance equipment behind the painting. He traces the equipment to a closet full of tapes and a computer with all the various members of whoever went to the brothel. So he's got all this information on all these people, and he has now been summoned to give his final report to the legislators via translator at one of their locations, the police department. He's like, name, rank, position, all this stuff. So he says who he is, and he starts playing these tapes, and he says, hey, she was the number one insurgent. All of the message has gone out. So he starts giving the backstory, which you never got in the earlier part of the movie, for all the individual insurgents, which was pretty cool. Like, the main insurgent guy was a former Marine, and the doctor was also a former Marine. He helped work with him, or he recognized him as a sergeant. And the Vera Farmiga was a former elementary school history teacher. Geez, he just starts going down the whole roster, and you're like, okay, this makes sense now. They all kind of knew each other, had a past life. You're like, all right, that makes sense. And then he basically plays a tape of when he was at the whorehouse, but while he was there at the brothel, she played music to kind of obscure their conversation. So you never knew what was going on. You never even knew it was him. But what he did get on tape was the commissioner. The commissioner made a visit to the brothel, and he was yapping off at the face and told a bunch of secrets about how the place, how they're vulnerable here, and these roaches do this for me. I'm basically one of them. So basically, he was just talking mad crap because he had access to their innermost workings, which is crazy. So John Goodman got what he wanted. He got that guy replaced with himself. The legislators were like, all right, commissioner, report in person, blah, blah, blah. You're like, holy crap. He just got promoted to commissioner. So now you see the younger brother once again. He's going to his regular job. John Goodman shows up, and he has now opened the box that he originally got from Vera Farmiga in the beginning of the movie, and it contains an old school cell phone with a SD card in it. SD card destruction and erasure is the kid's job. He hands the kid the card. Kid's still talking crap. He basically is like, hey, your brother's alive. They were deported off planet. His girlfriend was deported off planet, I believe. A little spooky on that one. I can't really remember. And then all of a sudden, he's like, I don't care, man, blah, blah, blah. Talking crap. Because I don't work for you. He's like, all right, get out. Takes the chip, smokes it into the factory where he destroys the media, pops the chip into the reader. It's the video of his family before he was born. His dad, like 5 of the 6 insurgents, John Goodman and Vera Farmiga, were husband and wife. Holy crap. It was their plan from the beginning. He said, well, my brother's plan failed. And then John Goodman, before he kicked him out of the car, said maybe the plan was to fail. This plan, freaking crazy. So, like I said, all those insurgents, once they found out that Vera Farmiga was dead, they ran the ground, but they all took their pills. All of them died. Even the little kid runner that they had going around the city passing messages, like, they either died or swam off or escaped. But all the scenes that they were showing in the movie were people dead in tubs, bottom of stairwells, like wrist slit. Like, they killed themselves to protect this plan. John Goodman is now on his way down to the alien lair, and you see his back glowing, but it's glowing much bigger than the bomb that they strapped to the senator. He has covered himself with bombs, and they're doing this like countdown, like 3, 2, 1, and he's got the mask and stuff on, and they drop him down this freaking tunnel, and then all of a sudden it fades back to the younger Drummond brother in the factory thinking about what his brother said, light a match to start a war, and then it fades back to John Goodman. Now his whole body is being encompassed in this goop, and then fade to black, and then all of a sudden a map shows up that says closed zone destroyed, and then another closed zone destroyed. So basically they were the first set to actually get this mission accomplished and get the war started to take back Earth. Kind of a cool premise. It makes sense to a point that a group of insurgents could do it when the entire military on the planet couldn't. But the movie did a very good job of redeeming itself at the end, because John Goodman was seriously like butthole style this whole movie. And it just shows how committed they were. Everybody died for this plan to work. Crazy. So 2.5 to 3 out of 5 for the rating on this movie. I think that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.